We're okay.
Live now. Go.
All right. So I'd like to start off by saying that I think it's extremely dishonest the way Jack, Oliver, Aaron, or broadly speaking, World Socionic Society presents themselves to the MBTI community as the foremost standard of socionics, even though there are many schools of socionics. But to be more specific, you can say other schools are doing a bunch of rubbish. They're doing facial readings. They're doing all kinds of bullshit, whether it be, Model G or whatever. Another issue that I have is that World Socionic Society essentially presents itself as a kind of classic socionics. And to me, and I think to everyone, it should be the case that what is known as classic socionics should be in reference to the original source material. And I think if you look at how Augusta approached type and socionics, it is clear that World Socionic Society is approaching it quite differently. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think if you're claiming to be a representative of classical socionics, which I think World Socionic Society is, and Jack has made that clear to me that is what he is doing, I think that's dishonest. And I know in his classes, he's probably not making people look at the original source material. He's just saying, this is how socionics works. He talks to the MBTI community and goes, this is how socionics is. This is how it operates. But he's highlighted the parts of the system that he thinks are relevant. And there's plenty of areas that Augusta thought were the original writer thought relevant that I'm sure Jack has cut. If you look at a steak, he's cut the fat of stuff he doesn't think is relevant. And that's okay. He's free to do that. He's free to say, this is a better version, but it's not classic. You can't come to me and say, hey, Kurtis, look at my classic Ford Mustang. And I go, that's not a classic Ford Mustang. And then Jack goes, well, look, it has 4 wheels. It has a steering wheel. It has an 8-cylinder engine. It's so much like a Mustang. No, it's not. It goes deeper than that. It's not that simple. Just because you've taken part of the skeleton doesn't mean that is classic socionics. And I know he knows that people aren't going to go reading the original source material to verify if it's classic socionics. And here's the thing. Jack can make this very simple and just say, hey, this is the World Socionic Society approach to socionics. This is what we think makes the most sense. This is what we think is most congruent with reality, what is reflected in reality. That's okay. But he can't say, hey, this is socionics. This is the standard of classic socionics. That's dishonest. And I think people ought to know that. That's my opening statement.
Hi, Kurtis. Yeah, I think that there are a few misconceptions going on here. So I'm trying to think where to start. I think I'll start with the idea of classical socionics. It's something which is a body of work which I stick to. Other
but you don't stick to it.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't. No, you don't. The classic socionics is Augusta's work, right? That's the classic. That's the original writer. If you have a certain degree of source integrity, then classic socionics is in reference to the original writer. You don't teach Shakespeare and then show us Lion King and say, hey, that's Hamlet. It's not the same. There might be some components that are very similar and a lot in common, but you can't pretend that is the source. And who the fuck is this? Who's coming in here now?
Huh?
Fucking wiki
you're right, Kurtis?
No, Kurtis, I'm wondering what the fuck is coming on the screen. I thought you invited one of your cronies in.
No, this is classical socionics. So if you go to Wikisocion...
This is a fucking Wikipedia page. I don't know what the fuck you're looking at, okay?
Yeah, this is wikisocion.net. So if you go to wikisocion.net...
And I know, and speaking of the wiki pages, I know that WSS has gone in there and they've made additions. I've seen it happen over time. I know you've gone in there. I know you've fucked with stuff. Don't even start with this bullshit.
No, actually, the people who actually created Wikisocion originally was Rick DeLong.
No. You're gonna go on about it's Peter It's Peter Bartle and the other guy, and that's who did it. Listen, I'm talking about the original source material by Augusta. Don't be bringing up these other fucking gentlemen. I don't give a shit. Okay, let's get back to the main topic.
But Kurtis, if we're talking about
listen, you're fucking trying to spin webs right now, and that's pissing me off.
No, you're
and
just
you know
getting
what
angry.
you know what the fuck you're doing.
No, I'm trying to talk to you.
What the fuck you're doing.
I'm trying to talk. You're confused. I'm trying to talk to you to help bring you some clarity.
No, I'm not confused. I'm the least confused. All your little followers are confused because you're like, this is socionics. This is how socionics works. There's many schools of socionics, and no one's verifying with the original source material. Right here, whatever Jack has on the screen, isn't going to be the original source material. He's got this all planned out. He's full of shit. Fuck Jack Aaron.
I've never disputed what you just said there. I've never disputed that there are multiple schools.
Exactly. He agrees with my statement that fuck Jack Aaron. He even knows that he's a little fucking
Curtis, can you just please be a bit polite to start off with?
No, fuck you. Rude? I know what you're doing. You're full of shit. You're already trying to spin webs.
I'm not spinning webs.
Let's look at Augusta's original work. No. I'm setting the fucking frame. No. I'm setting the fucking frame here. Augusta starts with things. No. Shut up for a second. Starts with things like irrational, rational, extrovert, introvert, just like our student Galenko starts with, and even conscious and unconscious. WSS does not work with those things as much. In theory, they pay lip service to it, but in practice, not so much. In practice, not so much. And Jack will act like, well, I'm classic socionics. No, he's fucking not. He's got his own interpretation, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
What is rational and irrational? What is rational and irrational?
That's not the fucking argument, Jack.
No, but
you're trying to get me. You're trying to get me to be like, oh, look, Curtis doesn't even understand what the meaning of these words are. That's not the point. The point is that in practice, you don't focus on that when it comes to application. Augusta, the original sociologist, did. Okay, it doesn't matter what the actual. It doesn't. Hey, listen to me for a second. Listen to me for a second. Jack Aaron might even be more correct than the original work. That's okay. I'm willing to accept that. But he can't call himself classic socionics. He does not approach it the same way as the original writer did. So him calling himself classic socionics is manipulation. He's manipulating all of it. He goes, this is socionics versus MBTI. No, this is WSS versus MBTI. Let that be known. Let everyone know that. That's what you should do.
Curtis, it's an entirely false premise. The false premise you are drawing is that to be classical socionics, it has to be exactly what Alpha has written.
You're so full of shit. Fuck you.
No, again, it's a false premise. If you let me speak, I've
it's
allowed
not a false premise. I'm talking about the original source material, and you're bringing me to a fucking Wikipedia page. Fuck you.
This is wikisocion.net.
Give a shit. I know you fucking played with this bullshit. I know you've checked the ones that you like. I know what you've done. You're so full of garbage, dude.
Curtis, this is material I learned from, and if you can't enter into discussion,
don't give me this bullshit. Don't give me this bullshit.
I mean, I invite you to debate with me to be a polite, civil human being, not be a whiny child.
You invited me to debate. You didn't say anything else other than that. So don't act like the polite, gentleman Jack. I'm here. Okay. I invited Curtis to be polite. No, you invited Curtis to tell the fucking truth. Now, maybe you didn't expect that, but that's what I came here to do, and tell the truth.
Well, no, I expected you to give. I expected to give a point of view. I didn't expect you to not try to listen to what I also had to say.
I know what you do. You fucking spin webs. You're full of shit.
I'm not spinning webs.
I know you're doing.
Okay, Curtis. If I were trying to.
Shut the fuck up. Shut up.
No,
shut up.
I'm trying to
shut up for a second. I'm getting a point across right now. Let me say something.
I'll let you get your point across, and then can I then speak? Because all you're doing is to demonstrate to people I'm not an extrovert sensation.
Okay, let's give an example. Let's take someone like Elon Musk that you typed ILE, okay? That's fine. That's how it works in the WSS system. You know, someone who's extroverted intuition, Jack would focus more on dichotomies like, let's say, internal versus external. He'd go, well, extrovert intuition is still internal, so that fits Elon Musk. But if you look at someone like a student of Augusta, like Galenko, who's actually a Jungian, just like Augusta was, they look at it more from the Jungian dichotomies of introvert, extrovert, and irrational, rational. Now, here's the thing, Jack. You might feel you're more correct, and I'm not arguing that. What I am arguing is you are not classic, because classic socionics is actually Jungian, which starts with introvert, extrovert, and rational, irrational. You don't focus on those components. You focus on things like internal, external. You focus on things like static and dynamic. You focus on things like what was the other one we were going over yesterday? There's also conscious and unconscious. You throw that all away. Conscious, unconscious. Augusta used that. That's classic socionics. You don't fucking use that shit. And that's okay. That's okay that you don't use that stuff. You can't call what you do classic socionics. It's the school of WSS. It's its own school, and you can't pretend like it's the representative of classic socionics. You're dishonest for doing that, and fuck you for being dishonest.
Did I hear you say that socionics was Jungian?
I'm saying the source material, as in Augusta, the original writer. She's a Jungian.
That's Jungian.
She's Jungian, you dipshit. And you also, the other day, were like, what's the best, when you made that video, you're like, what's the best Jungian theory? You included socionics. You're like, I think my shit's the best. I think my shit. You said that your shit's the best Jungian theory. And guess what? You used the word Jungian. So don't even try. Don't even try, you dipshit.
Curtis, how about this? So you admit that Auschra's original work is Jungian, but do you also admit that Auschra has also deviated?
Now you're trying to straw man me. You're trying to
say,
I'm just asking you a question. Augusta's original work is purely Jungian. Oh, no, what I'm saying is that there's aspects that she did that are different than what you do. You can't call yourself classic. It's not really the same thing. 100%. There's components that are similar.
I'm saying you agree. And am I right in saying I'm not unfairly portraying you by saying that you disagreed that Auschra's original work was Jungian? Yes?
No, you're fucking trying to straw man me. I already know what you're doing. No, shut the fuck up. I know what you're doing right now. You're trying to spin a fucking web. You're trying to oversimplify my argument like you always do. Go fuck yourself.
Look, asking a question isn't strong. I'm just asking a question. Didn't you just say that Auschra's original work was Jungian?
That's not what I just said.
So you don't...
Did you even listen to what I fucking said? I said she's a Jungian. I didn't say all socionics is purely Jungian. You fucking asshole. You're trying to straw man me and be like, Augusta, it's just pure Jungian. Go fuck yourself. You know what you're doing.
She is a Jungian. Right, good. So we agree she's a Jungian. But do you also...
Jungian. Okay.
Do you also agree, Curtis, that Auschra has also deviated from Jung's work?
Oh, this is the little straw man you're trying to do. I see.
No.
You see, Augusta's deviated. Augusta's deviated. Listen. But guess what else? You've deviated from Augusta's work. So you can't call yourself pure classic socionics. You can't call yourself classic socionics. You can't pretend like you're the main representative of socionics.
Curtis. The whole premise
I know what you're doing. Argument, I know what you're doing. You're so full of shit, dude.
I'm trying to logically dismantle your argument, which I'm entirely.
You're trying to be fucking gay, is what you're trying to do. I know what you're doing.
But I mean, this is kind of proof I'm not gay. But anyway, the thing is, right, the premise of your argument about me not being a classical sociologist is that I have some disagreements with Auschra, right? I have deviated in some ways from what Auschra has initially written in assembly work.
You've changed in many ways. You don't even use conscious, unconscious. So you can't say you're classic Model A. She's got her own shit going on. You've deviated, and that's okay, Jack.
No, I have deviated.
Yes, I do not. You might even listen, Jack. Shut the fuck up. You might be more correct than Augusta. That's not the point. The point is you're not classic because she's classic. You fucking fuckface.
But you've already conceded the point that you can deviate while still being of a certain class.
No, I didn't even say that. I said you can deviate.
The point.
You can
deviate.
Well,
you haven't consciously realized.
No. I haven't actually. I'm saying that in terms of her primary approach, we're talking about application. She approaches it with the Jungian dichotomies, just like Galenko does. I know you talk a lot of shit about Model G, but guess what? Shut up for a second. I'm talking.
I know, but it's
Galenko,
as
shut
if,
your stupid
but it's
fucking
also as
trap
if
hole,
you're allowed
bitch.
to talk
Shut
amount
up!
of moments you
Shut up
want,
for a second!
and I'm not allowed to talk unless
You
you
approach.
want me to
Okay,
talk.
shut up.
I mean, we gotta have fair and equal rules.
No,
here.
shut up, dude.
I could bring on a
You're
moderator.
not making any sense. Okay, Galenko and Augusta both approach it in that Jungian style of the Jungian function dichotomies. Like they'll start with introvert, extrovert, and irrational, rational. That's like the core. They always start with that. You don't. You're different. And you might say, well, Kurtis, you contradicted yourself. She differed from Jung. Yes. But my point is that you're the one parading around calling yourself classic socionics. You're not fully in line with Augusta, and that's okay.
Classical.
But don't call yourself classic. You're not classic. You're not a classic Ford Mustang. You have your own model, and that's okay. You trim the fat where you think it's relevant to trim the fat, and that's okay.
Kurtis, I'm not saying classic. I'm saying classical. Classical socionics. It's a thing. It's what's on the screen right now. So classical socionics is a collection of ideas which is considered.
Did you write this fucking article? Who gives a shit what this article says? No, I didn't.
I learned from
Go
this
fuck
article.
yourself.
This article has been, as far as I know,
here's what I think of this article. Here's what I think of this article.
Well, I mean, otherwise, what's the starting point other than you just shouting at me? I don't understand what the point of this discussion is. Otherwise, I mean, it's not as if you're convincing people that you're right and I'm wrong if you're just shouting, getting angry. You got to engage me here. We got to have a discussion. We got to go into how this is made up, what the logic is, and we got to come out
everything. You fucking idiot! You're not listening to me. You're not listening to me. You're just paying attention to the fact that I'm yelling and angry, and you're not actually listening to my words. You're just like, oh, look at Kurtis. He's so angry. Oh, he doesn't have anything to say. Fuck you.
But I haven't done that either. That's a straw man of me because I've already.
That is what you've done. You've been like, Kurtis, I invited you on to be a polite member of this debate. Fuck you.
But I haven't just done that. I haven't only done that. I listened to what you said. You already said, if I weren't listening, I wouldn't be able to hear this. You've already said that Auschra is a Jungian, right? So you've already shown that in the case of Auschra, her deviating from Jung is not enough to stop her from being a Jungian. In the same way, me deviating from certain aspects of classical socionics, I'm not going outside of the area though. I'm refining things within. I'm deciding.
Wrong.
Okay, what have I brought in that's outside of the area?
Wrong.
What have I brought in from outside the area?
Fake news.
Okay, well, what have I brought in from outside the area?
Here's how it works. Well, you're just talking about fucking theory. You're talking about nerd stuff. I'm talking about application. Application. She's a Jungian just like Galenko is. Forget about all the other models and all the other bullshit. They start with irrational, rational, and introvert, extroverts. You do not. So you cannot be classic. No, because the core spirit is still intact of the Jungian with Augusta and with Galenko. It is not intact with you. You can say that you've got a better system. I'm not arguing that. But it's not classical, Augusta, fucking her stuff, source material. Okay. It's not.
But that's okay. So am I right in saying, tell me if I'm twisting it, that the premise for you is that to be classical socionics and to be Jungian, you have to use predominantly or just at all extrovert versus introvert, intuition, sensation, logic,
what
and
I'm
ethics,
saying,
and national and rational insight.
That's not even exactly what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that application, the way Augusta applied the concepts, demonstrates what she thought were the key points. And if you have any respect for what is classic source material, then you look at that and you go, oh, this is what she thought was important. You can't go around Mr. WSS and go, well, this is how socionics works. Just make it clear you've got your own school because you think it's better than her shit or anyone else's shit. And you might be right. That's not what I'm arguing.
You're saying different things. You seem to be saying
No, I'm not. I'm making the same core point if you had any fucking brain cells, stupid motherfucker.
So am I instead right in saying that your position is that what Auschra considers to be the key points I need to be completely loyal to? If not, I'm not a classical sociologist. Is that what you're saying?
What do you think the word classical means?
Classical is this. So what I mean by
No,
this,
don't read this fucking Wikipedia page. What does it mean to be loyal? What does it mean to be classic?
Okay.
If
I'll
you
give it
present me, I've already done this
I mean
analogy
to be.
before. I've
Okay,
already
sure.
done this
I'll
analogy
give you that.
before. Go fuck
I'll give you
yourself,
that.
Jack. Go fuck yourself.
I think what it
if
means
you present
to
to me with like the 19, you go, this look, Curtis, this is a
Okay.
1979
I'll
Mustang,
take away.
and I go, no, it's not, and you go, well, look, it has four wheels. I've taken the parts that I think are relevant. It's still not the classic.
Look,
You dumb
I'll
fuck.
take away the screen so that because it's aggravating. I'll take away the screen.
You're aggravating to me. This is better.
So Curtis, I think to be a classical sociologist, you have to focus on Model A, Model Augusta. And the Model A, that is a model composed of the 8 information metabolism elements and the 8 function slots. Those function slots being leading, creative, role, vulnerable, suggestive, mobilizing, ignoring, and demonstrative.
Yeah, listen. You're taking some of the skeleton and you're being like, well, look, we got 4 tires, we've got a steering wheel, we're a Ford Mustang. Go fuck yourself. That's more complicated than that. She got many stuff to Augusta's work, her foundation, the source material that is not the same as WSS, and you know that, but you're manipulative. You go out there into MBTI crowd and you go, Socionics versus MBTI. You're talking about your stuff. Augusta's got stuff you probably don't even fucking agree with. She's got visual stuff as well that I know you don't agree with. And guess what? You ignore that stuff. That's classic. That's the source material. You don't have to agree with it, but don't pretend like you're the OG or you're representing the OG because you're not, bitch.
I'm not the OG. And the Alshra,
you act like you're representing the OG, and you just call it World Socionic Society. Fuck your stupid name too. You need to change that shit, you dishonest fuck.
Well, no, I mean, if you look at Bukalov's society, International Socionic Society.
I don't give a shit about Bukalov.
Okay, no,
he can suck a dick too. Just like you can suck a dick.
I'll try not to resort to whataboutery. But the point is, my group, the World Socionic Society, it's
bunch of faggots.
The whole world from
bunch of taint suckers.
From where you live to
bunch
Indonesia.
Of losers, bunch of nerds, bunch of ass wipes.
But I mean, what you wanted at one point? Are you calling yourself an ass wipe? I'm not sure. But
I'm calling you an ass wipe, you dipshit. I said WSS, a bunch of ass wipes, bunch of losers. Are you fucking autistic? What are you talking about? I was talking about you guys. Shut the fuck up.
But okay. But the point is, right. Alshra did talk about lots of different things. It was a seminal work. And there are lots of things she thought was also quite important, but doesn't necessarily mean that that's actually what is the best version of the model she put together.
Okay. This is a good start. This is a good start. Hold on. Fuck me, my fucking phone. Okay. This is a good start. Now we're getting somewhere. Listen, I'm not disputing that you might have the better version than Augusta. That's fine. That's not the argument. The argument is you're not classic socionics. You're not representing the source material. You can say, I've got my own system. World Socionic Society, School of Socionics. This is what we think is important. This is what we think is congruent with reality. Augusta's got a lot of bullshit we don't agree with. Make that transparent. Don't just say this is socionics. That's not intellectual honesty. You're not respecting the source material, and you need to. At least say, we've cut the fat here. There's parts Augusta said that were fucking stupid. We cut that out because we've got something better. Be honest about that.
I've always been honest about
Don't just say this is socionics. That's so dishonest. I mean, you know it's dishonest, and you're fucking trying to weasel out of it. You're trying to wiggle out of it, you little bitch.
I've never tried to weasel out of it. I never tried to
You are
hide.
right now. You've tried to this whole show.
I haven't been. But for instance,
stop you, unlike anyone else.
No, for instance, if we go to, as I said, Model A, I've stuck to Model A. I have deviated in terms of, for instance,
you've deviated. You've deviated.
In the same way that Alshra has deviated from Jung, and you still call Alshra Jung.
No, because
the parameters.
No. It's not just about. Listen, it's not just about what's on paper. It's not just about what's on paper. It's about the approach. It's about the application. It's about how you approach the topic of psychological type. It's about how you approach the topic of psychological type. And she and Galenko, in terms of how they approach psychological type, are very much Jungians. You are not. You are different. You approach it differently. You do not approach it the same way. Application. I know you don't give a shit about application. You think, oh, theory and then there's application. They're different things. Application reveals what you think are key points. It's very relevant, and they approach it very differently. You are not a reflection of that, and that's okay. You might be better. I'm not saying you're not. What I'm saying is you cannot call yourself classic socionics. That's dishonest. It's way more. And at least with this conversation has revealed that it's way more complicated than you just calling yourself socionics. I think you know that. I don't know why you're even arguing with me. You've already lost.
But Curtis, that's also false. I've never presented it as if I'm the only spokesman for socionics. I've had people from other schools.
You literally go socionics versus MBTI. What do you think people who are casuals take away from that? Oh, this must be what socionics works. You know there's other schools. You know there's the source material that's different than yours. Go fuck yourself, dude. Fuck yourself. You're so wrong. Oh, you're so wrong. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why do you keep arguing with me when you're wrong?
I mean, it would be a lot easier if I didn't call myself socionic. I could call it, I don't know, ICE. I could brand it as something completely different.
No, shut up. You call yourself... No. You do the intellectual honest thing. You do the intellectual honest thing, and you call yourself the World Socionic Society School of Socionics. You make it specific. Transparency. That's what you do.
I mean, that
just like Galenko has some fucking integrity. Galenko knows his shit. Galenko will say, this is the humanitarian socionics. You just go, well, this is socionics versus MBTI. Fuck you.
I mean, almost anyone refers to socionics as the general thing.
Yeah, if you're just talking about fucking internet losers, you dipshit. I'm talking about professionals, which you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be acting like a fucking professional, which you're not.
I don't recognize the standard which you're imputing to me.
Yo, go fuck yourself. You're such a dishonest fuck. You're such a little snake. Such a little snake in the grass. But you slithering over there, you little bitch.
But Curtis, whenever you refer to socionics, have you ever? Are you saying that you don't refer to socionics as a general thing?
Let's make this about the Endless Kurtis. Why don't we make this about the channel that's titled World Socionic Society? Why don't we talk about the one that's actually presenting themselves that way? You bitch.
Yes, but in the same way that Bukolov calls his the International Socionic Society.
Oh, I don't know. Listen, you can throw the blame on anyone you want. Just toss it on Bukolov. Just toss it on Bukolov. Hey, Bukolov, here's my fucking herpes.
I'm not tossing on
Bukolov, take my herpes for me. I don't want these fucking herpes, Bukolov. Just take my fucking herpes for me. Take this one for hey, Bukolov, take this bullet for me. I don't want to deal with it. The Endless Kurtis is tossing too much truth at me. Oh, you're such a little bitch.
But the thing, you're acting as if the social norm doesn't already exist.
And this is the other thing. You appealing to the social norm. It's like when you were talking about MBTI and you started bringing up Kersey. What a fucking joke. What a joke. Fuck you.
The reason I brought up Kersey because that's the only table currently in existence that is comparing. I'd rather not just talk about Kersey. I'd rather use an MBTI.
That's all you fucking talked about. You barely covered any source material of MBTI. Just like with socionics, I could go, oh, look, I'm using the John B model, and I'm comparing myself to socionics, this big clusterfuck in the corner of all these different systems. Imagine that. You don't address a specific thing, which is what you did, you dirty motherfucker. You addressed a specific body, a specific source material. If you wanted to say, here's socionics versus this specific gifts differing, at least then you can do a proper comparison. You just compared it to some shithole. You compared it to a fucking shithole on the internet, you piece of shit.
I mean, it feels like you're ranting at me rather than actually making an argument now.
I'm making perfect arguments, you dipshit. You're just trying to manipulate. You're a little manipulative bitch.
I mean, again, I brought on socionists from other schools onto my channel. By meritably doing
you use Timmer and those other guys just to be like, well, I'm Jack all over Aaron. You went, I'm Jack all over Aaron. Here's how you do things improperly. Here's the stupid motherfuckers who call themselves socionics. And here's what I do. I'm doing classic. Listen, your system might be better. Don't say act like it's the only socionics.
I mean, Dimitri Lighthoff, he does introduction to socionics. There's a social norm whereby people do present socionics and they call it socionics. I mean, I haven't deviated from that social norm. And saying that I'm wrong to follow.
No, you're wrong. You're so wrong. You're so wrong. The real OGs like Galenko, they'll be like, this is humanitarian socionics. Timur will be like, this is the archetype center. You just go, this is socionics.
Galenko
you
didn't.
Bitch. You bitch.
Galenko started doing that when he was putting together DCNH, when he was putting together Model G, because he wasn't actually, when he stopped being a classical socionist, he did start putting together a very different set of ideas.
Like
and he does
fucking notes.
And
at least in application, he's still got something in common with the original Augusta. You don't. You're different. You don't approach it the same way she did. You got the skeleton the same. You got the skeleton the same. Some of the things, but like you're not. Your application is not the same as Augusta. You can't call yourself classic.
In some ways, I'd actually say I'm truer to classical socionics than Ausher actually is.
That's the dumbest shit I ever heard in my
but that
life.
Makes sense.
You're such an idiot. That's like saying I'm more honest to Shakespeare than Shakespeare himself. Dude, if anyone heard that, let's timestamp that. That was fucking stupid.
No, but that's exactly the point. When it comes to a seminal work, when someone is putting together their ideas, they have lots of different ideas. If you read Ausher's original work, it has lots of different things floating around. But what was then consolidated into the canon, right, came after Ausher's seminal work. So that's the point. Yes, I'm aware of the irony, but that's the point. I'm following Model A. Ausher is not entirely following Model A.
You're not following the source material all the way. You've got your own things that you cut out.
I follow Model A. But again, source material.
No, you're not.
Source material is internally incoherent because it's a number of different ideas which
there you go. Okay, listen.
But if that's the case, then you can't be a classical sociologist.
Oh, dude, I want to grab your fucking little skinny neck so bad and strangle you. Just shut up for a second. Shut up for a second.
But
you've already said, shut up. You're not making any points. You've already made your point. No, shut up. You're saying that the original source material is incoherent. Therefore, you can't call yourself classic socionics because you don't even agree with the original fucking nonsense. You're like, this is fucking garbage. I take the parts that I like. You can't then say it's you're representative of classic, you dipshit.
No one, if something is incoherent, then no one can agree with it.
That's your opinion, you fucking asswipe. It's your fucking opinion. We're supposed to take your fucking word for it in your classes where you teach socionics. You don't show the original fucking source material. You're a fucking dipshit. Anyone paying for that class? Fuck you. Fucking, you're getting robbed by Jack Aaron.
Curtis, when you deal with seminal work, it does have different ideas that come together.
You better post this thing like a man and let the people decide what is true.
Curtis, as I said, even with your seminal work,
this shit. I already know you are. You little fucking weasel. Is this live right now? Even are we even live?
We're live. We got 35 people watching.
I know they are. They want to hear the truth. That's why there's 35 people. You've never had this many people in a stream. You've never had, because you're dealing with a real fucking truth speaker right now. You've never had.
But I didn't.
No.
I went off it
you know what? You know what? I'm not Michael Pierce. I'm not Michael Pierce. I'm not here to lick your fucking taint. I'm here to deliver truth.
But Curtis,
that's what you've never dealt with before. Yeah, you wish it was Michael Pierce.
Because
he would
the idea that you can actually deal with a set of ideas. Once it's consolidated into something which is Model A, that becomes the canon. The premise of your argument is that to be classical socionics, you have to be exactly
you're so wrong.
What
You're wrong about everything. You do more wrongs and then you pile wrongs on top of it. And here's the thing: you pile so much web spinning on top of more web spinning that people are like, oh, I can't even see the bottom of it because you just keep stacking shit on top of shit. Here's the thing: you've got differences with the original source material, meaning you're not classic. That's okay. You might be more correct than the classic. That's fine.
You can have differences with the source material and be classical.
Okay.
In fact,
it's dishonest to just say socionics. It's more complicated than that. And you know it's more complicated than that. And you don't give a shit. You're manipulative. You see the opportunity because you're in the Western world. You're like, I have the opportunity to be the standard of socionics. So I'm just going to be like, this is socionics. This is socionics. It's the story is more complicated than that. And you don't give a shit.
Because I never pretended.
You snake, you rat, you weasel.
Because I've never pretended that socionics is more. I never pretended that socionics is as simple as you're suggesting.
Yes,
again.
Okay, listen. Yes, you have moments where you go. Oh, look, here's another system. Here's another school of socionics. Here's another thing. But you overall, you don't play that game. You're going into the fucking wiki pages. You're changing shit, making it WSSified. You're fucking creeping around. You're being like, he is socionics. He is how it works. I've seen your comments. Don't even fucking lie to me. You present it as this is absolute canon. This is classical socionics. You know that you're taking part of it. That's part of the truth. You're not taking the whole thing. You're not being like, well, if it was really classical, it would be the source material. You dipshit.
Not all of Ausch's ideas fall within classical socionics.
Fine. Some of them do, and you don't even use them. You don't use conscious, unconscious, you dipshit. You don't even use all the classic. Listen to me. You're right. There's stuff of Augusta's work that doesn't fall into classical socionics, but there's stuff that does that you don't fucking use. There's stuff in the classic socionics that you don't use. You don't use conscious, unconscious. That's part of the classic. You don't use fucking you pay lip service to irrational, rational, but in application you don't use. She does. In application, it reveals what Augusta thought was important. You don't pay respect to that.
But you've already conceded the point that you can deviate for some while still being
no. Now you're trying to straw man me. That's not what I said. You're trying to oversimplify my position.
Well, that's not what you said.
That's what you always do. This is how you corner people. You like to oversimplify. It's not going to work with me. You can go fuck yourself. Fuck your mom. Take 3 steps back from the camera and fuck your own face.
But that's a logical conclusion of what you said.
Eat shit. You're wrong. Fake news. You've been wrong this whole time. I've destroyed you multiple times. It's been easy.
I mean, if we even look at socionics, right? This idea, for instance, that if I leave out conscious and unconscious because it doesn't make any sense. I mean, the demonstrative function.
Jack, you're so fucking dumb.
No, I get it. You agree that my approach is better.
No, fine. That's not even what I said. Now you're sorry. I didn't say it was better. I said it might be 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 better.
Okay, you're not disputing that it's better. Fine.
No,
is that fair?
Jack, you're such a little snake. What you're doing right now,
that means you're not disputing that it's
You're weaseling. You're snaking around.
You're not saying it's not better. You're not saying. Am I right in saying you're not saying it's not better?
I'm saying you're gay. That's what I'm saying.
Can I get you to agree with something which is literally a reflection of what you said?
I'm saying you're being a faggot right now. Is what I'm saying.
Can I get that good faith from you that if I literally
I want to punch you right in your fucking
nose?
No,
I didn't say that because I can't have
you're misrepresenting.
You just denied the things they just said a minute ago. That's not.
You want to get some words. You want to get some rational thoughts out of me, is what you want, right?
Well, I want to have a discussion.
Yeah. You want to get some rational thoughts.
I don't want to have a class fight with you because it's not productive.
I don't give a shit what you want.
But it is also
okay.
Okay,
here's my point. Okay, we're so many words. I want to respond to what you just said.
But if you want to come out of this looking good as well, you should conduct yourself.
I don't give a shit. I've smashed you the whole time. I come out of this looking like the champion. You look like a little snake, like you are.
I mean, okay. If I were being snaky, if I were being manipulative.
Oh my fucking god! Tell a story to us, Jack. Tell a story of how not a snake you are. Let's hear a story. Let's hear a little bedtime story from Jack. He's gonna tell us all how he's not a snake.
But if we look at people who
you've already said like 3 things. I wanted to address the first one. What was the first thing you just said? You were saying something. You said I conceded to something. Bring that back up. I want to rewind, bitch.
You okay? What I said was that you said that Auschwitz is a Jungian, right? But
no. That's way back. There was something you said after that.
No, but this is the point. It's multiple bits come together to form an argument, which then leads to a concession. So the first
got a bunch of shit stacked on top of shit. You got a shit pile sitting in front of you. Can you even see your computer screen with all that shit laying in front of the screen?
What was that? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Oh my god.
Sorry, what did you say?
Can you even see the computer screen with all the bullshit you've piled up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, fuck you. Hey, you don't have to answer that as a rhetorical question.
okay, so first thing was saying that Alstra is a Jungian. I agree with you on that point. Then we also agreed that Alstra has also deviated some ways from Jung, right? So these points
you're
were
wrong.
important.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
You're
ignoring approach. You're ignoring
the
spirit. You're ignoring the spirit.
Yes,
you're ignoring the soul of
also
typology. You're ignoring the soul of typology. You're ignoring the approach.
The spirit
in that
of
the
Jung,
her and her student Galenko
I don't have to resurrect
in
Jung
the
here,
introvert extrovert and the irrational
I'm
rational.
not resurrecting
You don't
him.
approach it that way. The
But
approach
the
reveals
spirit
what
of
they
Jung,
thought was important, and you do not match that.
Yeah, but what Jung
classic.
thought, but Alstra doesn't follow what Jung thought was important.
Shut up! You're just making shit up.
Jung's focus was on the archetype.
You're just talking to your ass. You're just straw man now. You're a bunch of bullshit.
Psychological types was a small corner of his broader body of work.
I know, bitch.
And
I talked about this. You know I talked about this. Now you're talking about other bullshit.
Right.
Fuck
so
you.
Can't you see why
No,
that is an inconsistency in your own argument?
No. There's no inconsistency. Jack, you can't call yourself classic socionics.
Just saying something isn't an
even if what you're saying has any merit, then you must just admit that there's no such thing. That there's no such thing. You're basically saying, Jack, shut up.
Gaslighting.
Stop talking. I have a point.
Curtis,
Jack, stop
you're
talking.
basically gaslighting.
Jack,
you're saying what things aren't when they are.
Jack, shut up. I have a point to make. You've already talked.
I will listen to your
I want to respond to what you have to say. You talk in paragraphs. I just want to respond to the first thing you said there. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't even remember it now because you just kept going, you bitch. What are you drinking right now?
I'm having cinnamon herbal tea.
Not so gay. Anyways, here's the thing. Anyways, all right. Okay, listen.
Go ahead.
What was even your fucking? Okay, repeat your point,
dude. Go on. I know we're having the giggles now. Okay, it's a bit. Oh, I'll calm myself.
Did it freeze or you just retarded?
No, I'm waiting for you to finish. You said.
No, you said I want you. I just asked you to fucking repeat what was the thing. Like you said, I contradicted myself or something.
Yeah. Okay. So the idea, right? My sin, as it were, is that I have betrayed the spirit of Alstra, Augustina Vitutia, by taking certain aspects, or a few aspects, you could say, out of my use of Model A. Right? Now, I would like to say that Alstra did exactly the same thing.
Okay, fine. Okay, now I have a response. You and I have a response to what you're saying. Because the core argument is not whether or not we're going to say Augusta's a 100% Jungian because she never claimed to be. But with you, the advantage I have is that you're actually going around saying this is Socionics. She wasn't going around saying this is Jung. You're going around saying this is Socionics, and you're not 100% true to what she was doing. And that's okay, but you don't get to say this is source material, this is canon 100%. You've taken the parts that you think are relevant, which you might be right. Remember, I'm saying you might be right. I'm not saying you are right. What I'm saying is you might be right, in which case, you still can't say you're totally classic. That's just bullshit. You know that. You're trying to be like, well, Chris, you're inconsistent. She wasn't a true Jungian, just like I'm not a true fucking Augusta person. It's like, okay, that's not the point. The main point is that you're going around saying this is Socionics. She was never going around saying this is Jung exactly. But also, as an auxiliary point, if you look at the approach that both her and her student Galenko take of starting with those Jungian dichotomies, it demonstrates what they think is relevant, which is different than what you think is relevant. So just saying this is Socionics, you're not telling the whole story. You need to tell the whole story for transparency's sake, and you're not doing that. Doesn't mean you're wrong, but you need to tell the whole story. You're not doing that, Jack. You're being dishonest by just going, this is Socionics. It's too oversimplified. And you know that. You just see the opportunity because you're in the West, you're English speaking, and you can make this the new standard. But it's bullshit. You're just going, this is socionics. This is socionics.
I mean,
fuck you.
I think I've said, because my memory isn't perfect.
Yeah,
but,
you said it once, way long ago. Once upon a time in a galaxy far, far away, Jack once admitted that there's some differences between his stuff and the source material. Congratulations.
I do think I have a habit of saying, this is what is said and this is what I think about it. I think I do. I like to believe I do.
You like to believe. You like to believe.
Well, yes, because I don't have perfect recall, but I like to think that I would be saying, right, when I'm talking about a concept, I can say, this is what it's typically called, and this is what I think it could be called instead. I think I've said that. If it's inert and contact, and I call that stubborn and flexible, I remember myself clearly saying multiple times, it's called inert contact. I think stubborn and flexible works. When people are talking about energizing, integrating, I said, the terms I use, energizing, integrate, I think that works better than introverted, extrovert.
Conscious, unconscious.
Yeah, and I think on multiple occasions, I've also talked about why I've dispensed with conscious, unconscious, and I don't think I've tried to pull the wool over people's eyes in suggesting that unconscious, unconscious never existed.
That's, in small sections, little patches here and there, you've done that. But overall, in your presentation as World Socionic Society, Socionics versus MBTI, you have not made that story clear. You have not been specific enough. You have not been intellectually honest. You have not been consistent in that way.
When you say I'm not being consistent in that way, when I go to, I'm talking about mental vital as a function dichotomy.
No, you can dork your way out of this and be like, all the different dichotomies where it's blah 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 blah. But listen, you're not totally in line with the original source material. That's okay. Just admit it's okay, and that you think your shit's better. That's fine. You can think that. You can think that, but you can't just say this is socionics. It's too simple.
But it's still classical socionics.
No,
you can have
Jack.
In the same way. What's David Hume and empiricism?
Everyone listening right now, Jack is the liar. He's a weasel. He's a snake. He's doing it right now.
You can be part of a school of thought and have disagreements within that school of thought, as long as they're not substantial, as long as they're not significant enough for it to be unrecognizable.
Conscious and unconscious, conceptions of conscious and unconscious, and approach to observing people as irrational. You don't think those are big things to Augusta? They were. She was more of a Jungian than you, and that's okay. You can think that her shit was garbage. That's fine. But you can't say, oh, look, we're close enough. We both have 4 tires. We both have a steering wheel. It's a Ford Mustang. Fuck you.
No, I don't agree with the premise that
removing
conscious unconscious means that something can't be classical socionics.
That's just one example. There's many examples. I'm not going to sit here and go through every single dichotomy where you've made slight additions or cut the fat here or changed that. Yeah, you've done this, Jack. Anyone with half a brain cell knows you've done that.
Cutting the fat doesn't stop you from being of the school. That is exactly what the point of being of the school is.
Wrong. You're not being part of the school. No. You're wrong. You're so wrong, you dipshit. That's not how being a student works. You're not representing the original source material. Can you admit? I just want you to admit you don't represent the original source material properly.
By properly mean fully. I don't represent the full source material fully. I don't represent the original source material fully. No.
Correct.
Yes, I've never claimed.
You're not classic. You're not classic. You don't play half of Beethoven. You don't play half of Beethoven. You don't play half of Beethoven, you son of a bitch.
But that's a good point. Beethoven and Mozart are both considered to be classical composers, yes?
No. That's not the point. You're playing with words. You're going, classical. The context matters. The context. You're ignoring context. You're such a word nerd, and you're taking advantage.
There are 2 parts.
No, I'm not going to let you do this semantic game you just did. That was the dirtiest. That was the dirtiest trick in the book. That was the dirtiest trick in the book that you just tried to pull. I can't believe you even tried to do that. You son of a bitch. It's like the other day when you were saying, "Oh, Curtis, it's like is listening to an audiobook of Mark Twain. It's not as good as reading Mark Twain. It's like, dude, that's not even what I'm saying. You son of a bitch.
No. But I can use.
You said that
your analogies.
Your analogies are so fucking wicked. You're fucking. You're such a bastard.
I'm not going to use an analogy.
You're such a troll.
I'm just trying to frame what the two main arguments are.
Are you
the one argument we're having is if I'm a dishonest snake or not. Other argument, am I right? Is one of the arguments whether I'm a dishonest snake or not?
It's not an argument, it's a fact.
But that's what I am disputing versus what you are presenting.
I've lost track of all your bullshit, dude. Like I'm getting headache from all your nonsense.
That is one. The other one is that I'm not a classical sociologist. That's the other argument. Right. So what I would say is that second one.
You've misunderstood it all already. You've misunderstood it all.
It becomes a semantic discussion.
You've ruined it all. You've already butchered my point.
When we're talking about
you've already misrepresented me. Misrepresentation. I want
what proper was the misrepresentation then?
I want proper representation.
Okay, what was the misrepresentation?
Proper representation.
I mean, I'm trying my best. What is the proper representation?
When you go on YouTube and you're like, this is Socionics, this is how Socionics works, you're acting like you're the standard, right? You're kind of presenting that way. World Socionic Society.
Okay. I do want my ideas to be considered a standard, yes.
Yes, you do. But you don't tell the whole story. You don't go, well, there's other schools, but I think my shit's better. You just go, this is the standard. You don't tell the whole story. You're not transparent. That's the point.
But that's, I mean, I can point you to the videos where I've discussed Model G. I've discussed, I've had debates on Model G.
So what? You've got some one-off moments. You've got some one-off moments where you've gone into how there's other schools. Bitch. You haven't done it properly.
How else am I meant to function? Kurtis, how can you present everything in every single video?
You don't have to present everything. You can just make some things clear.
Right.
You don't go.
So do I need like a special sort of, I don't know, small print under every single video? How is it meant to work?
No. You should put on a thong that says WSS, like where your vagina is, and you should shake it in the camera. That's what I want you to do.
Kurtis, how is it seriously meant to work on a YouTube channel?
Now you're appealing to like fucking like, oh, but Kurtis, I got a business. Kurtis, I got a business.
Right, I want to ask you for help.
Kurtis. No, shut up.
Can you help me?
Kurtis,
can you, assuming you're right, can you help me? Tell me how I'm meant to do this.
I don't want to help a snake, rat, weasel. I want you to die somewhere in the gutter.
Help me? I mean, why would you bother if you didn't want to help me?
I wanted to go on camera and tell you what you needed to hear and speak the truth. And I want you to go and crawl into a gutter and die there.
I mean, you know, I said before we went on that I thought we were chasing clout. I mean, it's pretty clear you're chasing clout, but yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Fake news. You're chasing clout. You can't say I'm chasing clout. When you go on and you go MBTI versus Socionics, you're calling yourself the official Socionics, World Socionic Society, but you're not chasing clout. TheEndlessKurtis is. Fuck you. And you're telling me, Kurtis, how am I supposed to function as a business if I make it clear that there's other schools of Socionics? Just go fuck yourself, dude. You're so dishonest. You're such a dishonest. I hope people catch that. I hope people have enough brain cells in their fucking noggin to detect that.
Do people... Okay, I'll ask in the chat. Do people not remember my discussion with Tim Oprowski?
Oh, fuck off, dude, with the Tim Oprowski. Just because you hit it one time. Just because you hit it one time doesn't fucking matter.
One time? One time.
Yeah, you beat up some scrubs. You got in the ring. Yeah, you beat up some scrubs. Who cares, dude? You haven't overall been, like, honest about this shit.
On Model
You're
G.
such a faggot, dude.
I had a video
You're such a
also.
bitch. If anyone answers about that Timmer shit, go fuck yourself. You're a dumb motherfucker.
I had a book talking about Galenko's book. A video talking about Galenko's book. I've had at least 6 or 7 videos about this.
I wish I had 6 middle fingers.
And the majority of my video, I've actually had more videos.
I wish I had 6 of these.
I've had more videos talking about other schools than I've had videos actually presenting my introduction so far.
Yeah, you're like, these schools are gay. Fuck these schools. It's all about WSS.
But it's not as if I'm pretending they don't exist.
WSS is shit, man. Yeah, that's what you did.
But that's a shift of the goalposts. You are
no. It's not. I've been talking about this the whole show. You can't say the shift of the goalposts when I've been talking about this the whole time. You little bitch.
Your goalpost before was that I'm pretending that schools don't exist, but I'm the only authority.
No, that's not even what I said exactly. You're just trying to misrepresent. You're trying to simplify what I'm saying.
Is that not a reasonable paraphrase?
What I'm saying.
What is your point then? Because it seems to have changed.
What I'm saying, fuckface, is that you are not being fully transparent. You're not telling the whole story. You're just going, this is Socionics. I mean, we all know that that's dishonest.
I've presented multiple parts of the bigger story through a series of videos.
You've occasionally done it. Let's be honest. Dude, Jack, let's be honest. Once in a blue moon, you've kind of touched on it, and you've been like, well, they're not doing real Socionics, not like WSS, which represents the real source material.
Once in the blue moon, I do an introduction, a video.
Yes, I prefer just a touch of the bullshit.
But that is once in the blue moon. How many videos of my
Jack Aaron? Okay. Here's Jack Aaron on Pornhub. He's like, yes, I prefer just a touch of the bush. That's what he likes. Just a touch of the bush.
Oh dear. Okay, Kurtis. What I will say, it's going to be coming on for 1 o'clock my time.
Does Zara know you use Pornhub?
Yeah, all the time. You can record that so she knows. But yeah. Look, we I should get going soon. But what would be your closing remarks?
Get off my lawn, you son of a bitch. I've had enough of your fucking horse shit. I wish I had you in front of me so I could fucking take you down to the ground and put you in a choke. Don't worry, nothing too violent, but just to teach you a lesson.
That sounds pretty kinky.
I don't want you to be able to talk for at least 5 minutes. Facing the floor, put you in an arm lock, and just keep you there for a little bit.
Oh dear. It sounds
like
quite
that?
Relaxing, actually.
You like that?
Nah. But it does.
You like rough play. You like a little BDSM. You told Zara that you like BDSM?
Oh my goodness. I don't think I should get into that sort of discussion on the public YouTube channel.
Yes, the SCI women like BDSM. Are they into that? Right. Is that like a thing?
Classical Socionics. One part I don't take so seriously, but aggressor, victim, infantile, caregiver.
That's Augusta. That's Augusta.
Actually, that was Gulenko, but it's still considered part of classical Socionics because it's not all. It's not all. That's the thing. If
you're not classic, is what you're saying. You're not classic, just like we've been saying this whole time.
Well, no, I don't. Okay, well, no. I take it with a big pinch of salt because I don't think it necessarily works that. But it was Gulenko. I don't think it was Alshra, the Romance styles. But it is actually listed here. It's I'm not sure people can see. Romance styles: aggressive, victim, caring, childlike. Can people see that? Can you see that at all?
They can't see it. They can't see it. They don't want to look at your bullshit.
No, I'm just saying. But if people want to get a good understanding of classical Socionics, I do invite them to go to wikisocion.net, and there'll be a link directly to classical Socionics.
Hey Jack.
Everything on here is classical Socionics. That's not to say everything within that I agree with, but
all
my ideas,
all the stuff I've changed. Jack's gone on there.
All my ideas exist within this scope. Within the scope that is classical Socionics. And I said I don't agree with all of it. Some part, for me, my mission has been trying to take this information and make the most of it, make it into something as worthwhile as possible.
Yes, let's end on that. Jack has taken the parts that he thinks makes the most sense, that are most congruent with reality, that are most reliable, that he thinks makes the most sense. That's fine, but you can't then call himself classic and represent Socionics as a whole. He's distilled Socionics. He can call himself WSS school of Distilled Socionics, the stuff that I think is relevant. He's made his own fucking vodka of what he thinks is important of socionics, but the other shit he's thrown out in the fucking garbage, and that's okay. He can do that.
Okay. But okay,
hey, Jack,
what I define.
I have a question.
Yeah. Should get to bed soon.
Do you eat ass? Do you like to eat ass?
Huh?
Do you like to eat ass? Do you like to eat ass?
I no, but anyway, when it comes to
you don't eat ass,
what I think, no,
you're what I think, if you don't eat ass.
I'm not. What I think is
you don't eat your girl's ass.
What I think is a break from classical socionics is when an entirely different model is put forward that doesn't draw from this material, right? So the perfect example is Galenko Model G. By creating Model G, it's no longer Model A.
He doesn't even use that in application. Fuck Model G. In application, he's more classic. He uses the Jungian style in application. The application matters because it shows what they think is really important.
Okay. Kurtis, have you ever seen Alshra try to type someone?
Yes.
You've seen Alshra try to type someone?
Yeah. She's right in front of me right now.
Oh, dear. I mean, again, I don't think application is the approach. It should be.
You better post this shit. People need to see this shit.
It's theoretical structure that makes up Model A and classical sociology. It's not the application, because the application, there are multiple different applications that exist.
No. The application reveals what the original source writer, thought was relevant. And she writes extensively of what she thought was relevant.
No, I get your point. It's what someone feels is relevant. I don't think that's the way it should be done.
Then you're not okay. That's fine.
That's
fine.
Together.
I'm not saying. Listen, I'm not saying she's the best or that you can't be better. What I'm saying is you can't call yourself classic. You son of a bitch. You keep missing the argument. You think I'm arguing who's better? That's not what I'm arguing.
But also, I would say that it's not classical sociologist is not synonymous with whatever Alshra thinks.
Yeah, but you're the first person who said classic, you son of a bitch. You're the first person who said, you're the first person who said, I'm classic socionics. You're the first person who said that. You said that to me in comments somewhere, and that's what I ran with it. So don't start messing with shit now.
Because I stick within this. I don't use.
You stick within some of it. Some of it. The parts you like. The parts you think make sense, not all of it.
That doesn't stop you being classical.
Just say yes. Just say yes.
Yes, I cherry pick aspects of
you cherry
Model
pick.
A.
Jack on record says he cherry picks. He cherry picks.
But that's okay.
He's a cherry picking Jack. Jack the cherry picker.
Classical sociologist.
Gentleman Jack loves picking them pears.
To not be a classical sociologist, it's more than just cherry picking. You've got to present a completely different model. Then you're no longer classical sociologist. You're in a different school, because there is so much stuff here. You have to cherry pick to put together anything which is coherent.
Dude, stop for a second.
And my rationale for cherry picking.
Dude, stop for a second. You're pissing me off. Dude, stop for a second. You're pissing me off. I'm about to turn green. Listen, when people hear like you being like, this is socionics, they think, oh, this must be like the original, like this is how it actually works. They don't realize there's other schools. And even if you say other schools are bullshit, they would think, oh, well, he must mean the original source material. But you have your differences. You're not being clear. You're not being transparent.
I presented these other schools. There are more videos of me talking about other schools than presenting my own work in the form of
bullshit. That's bullshit. Here's why.
I've counted up the number of videos.
You're wrong.
I've actually counted up the number of videos.
No. This is the mistake you're making. You pretend like your interviews where you type people isn't part of application. Application reveals what you think is relevant. And if you don't think so, you're dumb.
Okay, my interviews, I would disregard the interviews on the basis
you're
that's
dishonest.
Not a
that's
formal
why.
Presentation of my work.
Dishonest.
That is me simply conducting how it works.
Application is what matters. That's where you reveal what is key to that person. That's where revealed what they think is important.
How is it possible to run a channel where I'm applying it less than talking about other schools?
Jack, Jack, I'm not your PR guy. I don't give a shit about how you run your channel. That's not the argument. Stop making it about other nonsense. Fuck you. You're so dishonest. You little snake. You little blue snake over there slithering around, making up all kinds of nonsense.
I'm not.
I can't believe you still have more things to say. I've already eviscerated you. I've already flamed you.
But I mean, when looking at, I mean, okay, assuming I didn't edit this, which I didn't, but assuming I didn't edit this, if you were to believe I didn't edit this, would you accept the Wikisocion Classical Socionics compilation? Would you accept that as being Classical Socionics?
What are you talking about?
Assuming I didn't edit it, I didn't create it all and make it what it is. Assuming that, would you accept it?
I don't trust one hair on your fucking head, Jack.
I'll just say,
I don't trust one hair on your fucking head.
No.
I don't want to entertain your fucking snake oil, whatever bullshit you're trying to feed me. You're saying, here comes the train, Curtis. Here it comes. I'm not swallowing it.
But I don't know.
Fuck you.
I mean, I think when it comes to, well, okay. So I do think, which is the main point I'm trying to articulate, is that you can still be part of a school, right, while also deviating in aspects that the school also endorses or can endorse.
You're being such a dork.
As long as you don't add in stuff that is not classical, that makes it into a different theory. Because I think my theory is still, the theory I work with is recognizably classical. It's composed of all the elements from here. It is, as you say, trimming the fat.
You're looking at some fucking Wikisocion website that you've fucked with, probably. Listen,
and then the
classical socionics, you've already admitted that you've wiggled out of stuff. There's stuff that you don't agree with. Okay, you're not telling the whole story, but you just say this is socionics. We've already gone over this. You're not telling the whole story. You should be admitting up front that you've distilled your own version that you think is relevant, and you've cut out certain things that you don't think is relevant.
I've never not been upfront about that.
Yes, you have. You've not been upfront about it. Like in your Socionics versus MBTI video, what do you think people think? Like, oh, this must represent Socionics in general. Fuck you.
I mean, the argument on Socionics versus MBTI was one where
you talked about Kiersey the whole time, you bitch. That's
the only comparison table we've got. I used the tools which are available to me. If there were a table with Myers-Briggs, I'd use that.
Okay,
but
and that table is rubbish. And that table is rubbish. And that table was rubbish. And that table was rubbish. And that table was rubbish. Okay.
And that's not
Stop for a second.
What?
Here's the problem with comparing to David Kiersey. It's not cognitive functions. So like, here's what they did weird on that table. Take the IEI, right?
Yeah.
That's NIFE, right?
Yeah.
Ego block, NIFE, right?
Yeah.
Then they compare it to Kiersey and they go INFP. So you see, they're not really, if you were talking about dealing with a cognitive function system, you would compare IEI to INFJ. If you're talking about cognitive function systems, like different. I know but that. you see where that's weird. You see where that you're being gay.
But you can also see from that table, right, that the IEI to INFP also, well, actually in that case, actually was better. But if you look at, for instance, at INTJ versus LII, and also INTJ to ILI, neither of them have much of an endorsement compared to.
Yeah, you said another dumb thing. You're like, the INTJ matches up best with SLE and Kiersey. Here's why that makes no sense. The INTJ.
I know it doesn't make much sense, but that's what the table was. And
the INTJ is presented as a mastermind in WSS Socionics, the World Socionic Society School of Socionics. Yeah. They, from what I understand about your work, you present NI as understand or having a sense for how things are going to unfold, right? Right?
Yep.
You've said that, right? Yep. And then you go, oh, the Kiersey INTJ matches up best with SLE. That makes no fucking sense because a mastermind is someone who knows how things are going to unfold, has a sense for that. It doesn't make sense to be like, oh, that's most in common with the SLE here in Socionics. In what socionics? The dumbass socionics? Like, what are you talking about?
That table wasn't my opinion.
Yeah, you posted that dishonestly because you're like, oh, look how they're different. Like, you're just posting garbage.
No,
Why'd you post that nonsense?
But this is a good example. This is actually a very good example of me being as transparent and honest as possible, and you then calling me dishonest. Because what I did in that video is I was very clear. This is Dimitri Litov's table of an experiment where they brought together several socionists to look at these profiles. I explained the methodology. It's not just a table I put together. It's not.
Yeah, but you see why it's dishonest? You see why it's dishonest? Because you're acting in association with them. You're being like, oh, here's the socionics world and here's the MBTI world. You're not getting into the fact that there might even be differences between that guy and you. So it's like such a weird fucking clusterfuck you just did.
I mean, I don't think my type profiles are that dissimilar from
regular. Because we have all that. Because we have all that in front of us. We have all that in front of us right now to verify that Jack's being 100% honest. Yeah.
Profile. I put together my understanding of type.
I'm sick of you. You've been talking over me this whole time, you rude bastard.
Even I looked at some of Galenko's work as well. I mean, my profiles don't deviate. I don't have some weird understanding.
No one can verify. They're just taking your word for it. All your little sheep in the comments are probably just taking your word for it. Oh, Jack. Oh, look your butthole. Why don't you get Michael Pierce to lick your taint later tonight? You little fucking weasel.
Profiles have been available online for a long period of time. I mean, the only reason I know about them is because of being online, same as you. Like, if other people couldn't look that up, then I wouldn't have been able to look it up. I wouldn't.
Wrong. Fake news. You're such a little snake, and I've you're fucking starting to weave webs again. You fucking loser. Listen. You bringing up that Kiersey table comparison to Socionics was the most irrelevant thing you could have done. It should have been WSS's school of Socionics versus MBTI, what you think versus what they think, and then actually point out a specific school of MBTI that you were addressing. But instead, it was clusterfuck versus clusterfuck. Oh, and here's another school of Socionics. Look at this fucking random table that means nothing. Like, you're such a little fucking weird. Like, you just like to throw fucking confusion out there so that you get the advantage. It's like they say in Game of Thrones, chaos is a ladder, and that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to climb that ladder with the chaos. You can just call yourself Socionics and be like, oh yeah, this is the original source. Yeah, this is how Socionics works, and here's the thing. Here's the standard. Fuck you.
I mean, I'm not allowed to talk about Socionics as a general thing. And say that Socionics is a better form overall than MBTI is.
You're allowed to say, hey, you're allowed to say, hey, I think the WSS school of Socionics is better than MBTI. Because guess what? There's other schools of Socionics where they do shit like face reading that you think is even worse than MBTI. So fuck you.
I mean, but also there are schools which are sort of lumped in with MBTI, which are also worse. Like,
and there's also schools of Socionics. There's also the original work by Augusta that even Jack would be like, okay, some of the stuff I'm not going to use in application. Like, you can't act like Socionics is just the thing that you do.
But also it's about the theoretical infrastructure rather than the application. The methodology that one uses.
No, your theoretical infrastructure is just for dorks who just want to win arguments. The truth always comes out in an application, because in an application you realize what actually matters to someone like Jack Aaron, what he actually thinks is relevant. Okay, he can play games all day with a theoretical infrastructure. He's just being a gay little weasel. What matters, what is actually true about how they approach things is revealed in the application. Same with Augusta, same with Galenko, same with Jack. Forget about all the fucking theoretical infrastructure. They can play games with that all day and manipulate you. Pay attention to how they actually approach identifying and distinguishing type. That's what matters. That's
how
the
did
truth.
Ultra type people?
Suck my dick.
How did Ultra type people?
What do you think I am, a fucking librarian? Do your own research. I've already looked into it. It's different than you. Like I already covered earlier in this video, if you were fucking listening, she uses irrational rational as part of her approach. You don't. Therefore, you're not classic. She's the source material. Her approach reflects what she felt was important.
No. She she mentioned rational irrational. She mentioned well, it says actually sociology in earlier writings. It was put forward there was a schizotype and a cyclotype, as that is actually an earlier.
No, Jack, you're wrong already. She was using those Jungian dichotomies just like Galenko does in typings. That's the classic because they're actually Jungians in their approach. I'm not talking about theoretical infrastructure. I'm talking about approach. Your approach is quite different, and it's part of why you're not classic. Part of being classic is how you play the instrument. It's not just the sheets of. It's not just the music theory. It's not just the music theory. It's also how you play the instrument. They played it a certain way. That's the classic method. I mean, you don't play it that way.
I mean, we're talking about approach, but what you mentioned isn't approach.
You're such a waste of my time. We've just been going in circles for 4 hours, and I beat you so many times.
But when we're talking about methodology, we're talking about how he types people.
Yeah, right? Listen, methodology is a reflection of actually what they think is important. If you're talking about classic socionics, you have to address the actual approach, what they thought was important.
Yes, but do you know that approach?
Yes, she wrote about it. I've read about
how she types people.
Yes, she made a big deal about, just like Galenko did, which is her student. She studied under Augusta. Guess what? They also take that approach of starting with the Jungian dichotomies, those first two. They think that's a big deal. You're a little bit different. You have a bit of a different approach. It doesn't mean you're wrong, but what it means is that you can't really call yourself classic. They're more the classic. That's how it was done originally.
So you're saying that, am I right in saying
the approach is a reflection
of using extrovert, introvert, intuitive, sensory, logical, ethical, rational, irrational?
I'm not gonna let you straw man me into whatever fucking
is that
let me speak. Let me speak. What I'm saying is that this is the takeaway. Forget about the specifics. What I'm saying is that application is revelatory of what a person actually thinks are the key points, what is actually relevant, because application is what matters. This system's built for a purpose. So how you actually apply the concepts, what you think is relevant when you're actually looking at people, that's what is classic if we're talking about the original source material. That's a big part of what is classic. Jack might be taking part of the skeleton, some information dichotomies, a few other things. They got 8 information elements. There's some things that they have in common, just like any typology has things that they have in common. No shit. But for Jack to say, just say this is socionics, he's not telling the whole story, because obviously if you look at the original source material, how the concepts were applied reveals that Augusta had a different focus than what Jack has. Jack's developed other things that he thinks are more relevant than what she thought was relevant. Just like Galenko is focused on other things than what Jack thinks is relevant. Galenko, at least, even if you want to say Model G is not classic at all, which I would agree with, I would at least say in application he's more classic because he's similar to Augusta, and he does focus on those Jungian dichotomies when it comes to typing, which that is the classic application, and that is revelatory of what they think is actually key points, and that is, sort of the soul.
Right. So what I said before was what you were trying to say.
What we have a divergence on is you focus. What you make a big deal of. You say like you're classic because you have enough of the theoretical infrastructure in common, basically. That's why you're classic. You're common enough in that area. What I'm saying is that application says more about what is classic.
Well, but by that logic, the Myers-Briggs type indicator is actually more like classical socionics than what I do.
Are you talking about the original gifts differing, or are you talking about the MBTI company?
As in the actual Myers-Briggs type indicator test is more loyal to what Galenko does in terms of extrovert, introvert, intuition.
Okay, the test not so much. The test not so much because they do J and P referring to, they're not talking about rational, irrational. They're talking about the first extroverted function, so it's not a fair comparison. Galenko does not do that. Galenko's talking about whether you're an irrational type or a rational type, so that's a false comparison, and I resent you for doing that.
But when we go to rational, irrational, it clearly says rationals, the typical characteristics, tend to plan ahead, make decisions early, often more rigid and stubborn, don't like to change their decisions, tend to finish what they've started, usually have stiff movements, usually more authoritarian leadership style, low stress tolerance. That is judging. How could you say that's not judging?
Jack, you're missing my point.
So but at this point, this is the literature on.
No, you're missing my point. You're missing my point. You're just trying to make this muddy and gross. What I'm saying is that irrational rational was a big part of Augusta's approach. Yeah. You're not using that. So that's part of the classic canon. You're not really involved with that as much. You pay theoretical lip service to it, but in application, not so much.
Right. So we're looking at rationals, irrationals. These are the typical characteristics they're looking at to type people in terms of being rational versus irrational. And it's pretty much identical to judging perceiving.
Yeah, but it's not. Here's why. Here's not, and here's why. Because in this case, they're talking about the dominant function. MBTI is not talking about the dominant function. They're talking about the auxiliary function.
About the approach. You said the focus is on the approach, not on the theoretical infrastructure. So you've got a choice. Either you join me and talk about the theoretical infrastructure, we're going to talk about approach. What is it going to be?
Well, obviously, there's got to be a mix of the two, and you're not doing either.
No. You stop.
No, fuck you. There's obviously got to be a bit of both. I'm not saying only one or the other. I'm not saying only one or the other. What I'm saying is what you're doing. Is you're isolating one and completely ignoring the other.
But we also, are you saying that extrovert and introvert are completely different, or intuition sensing? I mean,
what are you even talking about right now? That's not even the point. You want to get into whether or not these dichotomies even like make sense or whatever. I'm not talking about any of that shit. What I'm saying is that Augusta approached it a certain way that you do not approach it. You do not approach it that way. You are not classic. You're not representing the original source material.
If we follow your line of logic.
No. You're trying to say that all You're trying to say that all I was saying was that application is all that matters. I'm saying you need to understand that to understand what the original source writer Augusta thought was relevant. And I'm saying that you can't call yourself classic because obviously your values of what you think is relevant to socionics differ. Right. So you have to make it clear that you're your own school, dipshit. You don't even understand this. It's too deep for you to understand. You just want to get a bit nitpicky into little details, and I'm not having it.
What aspect of class? Okay, so if it's about intentions and classical socionics, what aspects of classical socionics, right, says this is what Altra intended?
Just shut up. You're so stupid.
In the same way, Altra did not follow what Jung intended.
I'm so sick of you, dude.
Altra didn't follow what Jung intended.
I'm so sick of your horse shit. It's fucking giving me a headache.
So you're just fucking dancing all over the place with your horse shit. Rather than what was actually presented as the theory.
No,
you're basing that assumption on what Altra intended to say that I'm not a classical sociologist.
Yeah, listen. The intentions of the original author, like if you're like, I'm teaching Shakespeare, but you're not actually teaching Shakespeare, that matters, you fuck. You're not actually teaching Shakespeare. You're not
teaching classical socionics. It's
oh my god, dude.
I talk about comes from here, and where it doesn't, I've said why.
No, you haven't. You haven't said why. We've already gone through this. We've already gone through this multiple times. I have a consistent habit and established that you've got your differences.
You've already admitted. I remember it coming out when
Shut up. You've already admitted that you've got your differences between you and Augusta against you and the classical source material, and that's fine. But you can't then say, well, this is classic. It's not.
No, because that doesn't.
You've admitted your differences. You've admitted you've cut things out. You've admitted you've cut things out.
No, yes, which is
admitted you cut things out. Do you understand? Do you understand English right now? Oh my fucking
you can cut out facts until we're part of the same school.
You're useless. You're useless. I'm sick of you. I'm so sick of your shit.
Are you saying, okay, for instance, let's say, right, that you learn the XYZ approach. You learn the XYZ school of carpentry. And let's say that you find, right, that actually some of these steps in the XYZ school of carpentry are not actually necessary to do it. Are you now no longer someone of the XYZ school of carpentry? Even though it's still recognizably the same methodology, you've just refined it slightly. Why is that no longer the same methodology? It's not as if you've learned from a completely different school. You base your your influences entirely from that body of work. So why are you suddenly not classical socionics?
So you're a professor when you went to socionics. Hey, you already made your point. My turn. I let you talk for a solid fucking 2 seconds.
Oh, solid 2 seconds.
Did you go to school? Also, shut up for a second. Did you go to school with Augusta? Is that your professor?
Did I actually go? No, I didn't go to school with
your fucking professor. Shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up, you stupid motherfucker. You didn't go to any school, okay? You're just like, oh yeah, well I went to the so-and-so carpentry school. If I made some changes, does that mean I wasn't part of that school? Dude, you never went to school with Augusta, okay? You saw some stuff she did. You took the parts that you liked. You cut out some other bullshit. Okay, you can't call yourself classic. You've made additions. I've already made the analogy of like you came up to me with the Ford Mustang. You've already came up to me with the Ford Mustang and been like, hey, Curtis, look at my classic Ford Mustang. It's got 4 tires and a steering wheel. It's like, okay, I understand it's got some things in common, but guess what? It's not classic. No, you're so stupid.
Classic cool.
You're so dumb. You're so dumb.
And within classical socionics, it's the requirement to be classical socionics is not attending school with Aushra.
That's not the point. My point is that your stupid analogy was like you were like, I went to carpentry school and I made some changes later. Does that mean I'm not? No, you never probably even looked through all the source material. You probably looked through some stuff. You're like, here's some stuff. You admitted to cherry picking earlier. Right. You took the stuff that you like. So, you cherry picking material does not mean that you're fucking classic, dude. You admitted to cherry picking earlier. You even used the words cherry pick. So don't call yourself classic when you say cherry pick. You already said cherry pick. You can't be classic if you're cherry picking.
You can.
No, you can't, you dipshit. You're not even using words. Not even using words right. You have no respect for how words work. You have no respect for words. You have no respect for words. You have no respect for words. Shut up, you stupid motherfucker. No, you don't. No, you don't. You cherry pick and then call yourself classic. Oh, I cherry pick some verses from Beethoven. I'm classic Beethoven. No, you cherry pick, you dumb fuck.
Yeah, but what is cherry picking?
You the one who said it, you stupid motherfucker.
I know because I know what cherry picking means.
Oh
cherry picking.
You take the stuff that you think is relevant, but not the stuff that you don't think is relevant. That's what you did.
No, cherry picking.
No. Shut up, Jack. That's what you meant. We know
there are circumstances where cherry picking is wrong.
Fucking God.
You can't cherry pick facts.
You're a waste of my time, dude. You've just been going in circles for the last fucking hour and 20 minutes. I can't believe we've gone in circles this many fucking times. I've already dismantled you multiple times, and I'm still here fucking wasting my time after I've already destroyed you. We've already made the core arguments, and you've just been like,
you can cherry pick from a body of work to pick out the parts which are going to be most useful. And that doesn't then disqualify you from being someone who is presenting
Shakespeare. I did the whole thing. I must be classic Shakespeare. I cherry picked some lines. I'm still classic Shakespeare, though. I just cherry picked the stuff that I thought was important. I left out the stuff that I don't like. I'm still classic Shakespeare. Go fuck yourself, dude.
I mean, maybe that actually could work. So, for instance, are you a teacher of Shakespeare if you only teach your students Othello and you haven't actually brought up Romeo and Juliet?
What do you think, Jack? What kind of bullshit
you're a teacher of Shakespeare?
You're teaching. You're saying I only. So your
analogy works really well.
Your rhetorical question is like, oh, I only teach one book of Shakespeare. It's like you only taking the parts of like Augusta's work that you think are relevant and then leaving out the works that you think are trash.
Are you saying
you can't really call yourself classic?
Are you saying that someone is not a teacher of Shakespeare until they've taught every part of that work? Or just Shakespeare's favorite works? They haven't presented Shakespeare's favorite works, and the works that Shakespeare didn't like so much. Are they disqualified as being a teacher of Shakespeare?
Guess what? Who's ever attending that class knows that there's other stuff of Shakespeare's that they haven't encountered. Whereas Jack can hide in his veil of lies. He can be like, oh, look, it's Socionics. You don't get to know that there's 3 other works that you haven't read. You don't get to know that. I bet in his classes he doesn't show you the original source material. So go fuck yourself. False analogy. Everyone knows.
Given that Shakespeare's work is publicly available. Everyone can see it.
If you go and see, like, you go to a Shakespeare course, you take like some Shakespeare, he'll probably be like, oh, there's these other works, but we're not going to go over them in this class. Jack's not really introducing like the source material or anything. No,
everyone can access.
And what you're doing is worse. What you're doing is worse because you're taking stuff and changing names. Like, you're not even using conscious, unconscious. You're changing it to other things and being like, oh, it's still Shakespeare. It's still Shakespeare. It's not still Shakespeare.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to just
You're so dishonest little snake.
Just in case no one can access, no one has yet been able to access translations of a classical work. There is a very good website built by someone. Can't remember her name. It's annoying. I can't remember her name. She's gone to the trouble.
Keep track of where you're getting stuff from. Cherry picking stuff. He doesn't even know what the sources are.
This is classic socionics rather than classical, because the idea of classic rather than classical is that it's not just a set term or
what fucking website are you picking this from? You probably WordPress. You probably wrote this garbage.
No, I didn't.
You're looking at your own fucking website. You son of a bitch.
I don't own classic
socionics.wordpress.com. You probably own WordPress, you little fucking weasel. This isn't... Don't let Jack fucking manipulate you.
You can go to this
website. What the fuck we're looking at right now.
And you can read.
Go fuck yourself. You got your little computer. You can fucking bring up whatever fucking bullshit. I'm on my phone. I can't fucking look up anything right now. You're just fucking being gay. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Just in case anyone has the impression of trying to hide anything,
he's hiding everything, guys. Guess what? Instead of writing WSS versus MBTI, he goes Socionics versus MBTI and then talks about Kiersey. He's a fucking weasel, dude. Fuck Jack. Jack's full of shit. He's talking about Socionics. Here's how we do it in Socionics.
Okay, look.
He's not. It's his system.
If anyone believes that this is my website that I've sort of concocted out,
that's not even my main point. You're making mountains out of molehills. Mountains out of molehills.
They can go on the website. They can check. It is.
No, go fuck yourself. You're making that out like it's my main point.
It's classic.
This is what you do. You take one little thing where I might have been hyperbolizing a little bit, and you make that like it's my main point. It's not even my main point. My main point is that you present yourself to the MBTI community as the foremost like standard of socionics, and you're not even telling the whole story. You're not being transparent.
What do you mean by the foremost standard?
What do you know what you do? World Socionic Society. The world, bro? The world?
Yeah, that's my group, the World Socionic Society.
Dude, I know. You can pretend like it's not intentional. Okay, manipulation's often not obvious. But it's subtle. It's subtle things.
Of a society.
I get you can play dumb. I get you can play dumb with it all day. I get you can play dumb with it all day. Just shut the fuck up, dude. You're such a nerd. I don't know what you're talking about. You're just saying a bunch of bullshit. Dude,
but there was actually a meetup of WSS.
You just splash some water on your forehead to clear your head. You're just talking nonsense right now.
We have a group even on Java.
You have groups everywhere fucking manipulating stuff. I know. They're like, and they all go, they don't go, this is how it's done in WSS. They go, this is Socionics. They don't tell the whole story. Tell that this is your system. This is WSS. This is what we think is important, what we think makes the most sense. Don't be like, this is just Socionics point blank. Because then people run into, for the sake of communication, Jack, people run into each other and they're like, well, I heard Socionics works this way. Well, I heard Socionics works that way. You don't care about communication. You should be clear that WSS is its own system, just like humanitarian is, just like whatever. You should be clear about that for the sake of communication. If you care about communication, you should make that clear. And your cronies, your whole crew, they just go around saying Socionics like point blank. That's all there is to it.
I mean, is Socionico therefore guilty of said manipulation by calling their work Introduction to Socionics rather than Introduction to Socionico-Socionics?
Your mother's guilty of birthing you, so I have to listen to this trash for the last fucking hour and 30 minutes. Fuck you.
Again, I just I'm also prefacing it by saying
I've already made these points, and you're trying to manipulate. You're trying to play all these games, and I'm not playing ball. I'm not throwing it. I'm not playing catch with you, bro.
My contribution to say it's my contribution, but keeping those things in mind, right? Is this wrong? Is Dimitri Lightov being a manipulative, dishonest person by talking about introduction into socionics and not calling it socionics? Is he? Are you going to malign him as well?
Dimitri who?
Dimitri Lighthoff.
Dimitri Lighthoff? You're Dimitri
Yes.
No Life.
Dimitri No. But I'm saying
you're Dimitri No Life.
And what I'm saying is that there is a.
You should, Dimitri, turn the lights off this crap on the screen.
That I am following, and it is not breaking any sort of social norm based on that precedent.
Fuck you,
and by calling it socionics, and
within that this whole time,
I am also being extra careful, right, by saying when an idea of mine is not actually what's presented in classical socionics, because I've changed the name slightly because I want to be better. I'm very clear about that. I've said that multiple times, and I've gone to the effort of presenting other schools on my channel. So if you factor those things together, that I'm being
you brought other schools. You brought other schools on to be like. You brought other schools on to be like, here's how you do it wrong. Is what you've done. You've done that little bullshit. Timur, like, oh, look how dumb Timur is, and how this is a bunch of horse shit. That's what you've done. You're not being like, oh, there's other schools. You're like, there's other little fucking. You've been like, there's other fucking garbage out there. But you're like, this is real socionics. That's archetype center, but this is socionics. You should say WSS every time.
WSS. By bringing on these other schools. So unless I'm actually trying to make them look as good as it could possibly, more good than it actually is, or I'm just let them speak for themselves. If I'm not doing that, you're saying that's dishonest. I'm just
saying you're dishonest.
How is that dishonest?
I'm saying you're dishonest.
Very definition.
I'm saying you're dishonest. I'm saying you're dishonest, and I've made the point a million times, and I've gone through it a million times, and your fucking ears aren't working. And I don't know how you haven't gotten together why I call you dishonest. It's the way you present yourself. It's the people aspect. It's the way you approach the community. This is socionics.
But I've already described
the story is way bigger than that. No. You've said a bunch of words that don't matter is what you've done.
A bunch of words that don't matter? What do you mean by that?
You've been wrong the whole time. You haven't said anything. I'm the only one saying anything this whole time. How have we been going an hour and 36 minutes and you're still talking? You've been wrong this whole time.
I mean, I've dismantled every argument thrown at me pretty well. I mean,
dismantled. I haven't been dismantled. I've owned you this whole time.
You've been totally
You've been destroyed. You've been destroyed time and time again. You're fucking on shaky legs, my friend. Okay, you were knocked out like 3 times.
You entered the tank
fight.
With the piranhas.
You fucking suck, dude. You suck so much, and you've been lying the whole time. So even if you like somehow want to argue that you got one over on me, it's been through like deceit and lies and bullshit.
Curtis.
Shut up. No, shut up. What you've done is
every single one of my lies. I invite you to do that.
Wait, what?
I will welcome you. I invite you after this discussion's finished.
I'm not your fucking PR guy. I'm just gonna let the people see all the bullshit you've said.
Lies.
I've already pointed out all of them, dude. I pointed out the fact that you present yourself as the socionics, as if there are other schools, as if it's 100% in line with the source material. You can't just say you're socionics. The story's more complicated than that. But instead, you prefer to lie to everyone. You prefer to be full of shit. You prefer to be a little scumbag piece of shit. Fuck you.
If I were interested
No, you don't get to talk anymore. You should just shut up. You should put your head on the table. You should put your head on the table and say, I'm sorry, Curtis. That's what you should do. You should say, I'm sorry, Curtis, for being such a little weasel.
Curtis, if I was trying to obscure the truth, would I have you on here?
Yes, because you think you'd win.
Because I win. Why would I win?
I don't know. You believe in you believe you're good. You're better at weaving together bullshit than anyone else. So you probably thought that this would go well, but instead I destroyed you the whole time.
Well, maybe.
You thought this would go well. You thought this would go well. You thought you wouldn't get challenged. You thought you'd get Michael Pierce on here sucking your taint. I ain't Michael Pierce. I'm talking about the fact that you go around talking about how you're socionics, and it's more complicated than that. You just go, "Oh, I'm classic socionics. This is how socionics works." You know the story's more complicated than that, but you don't care. You just want to win. I mean, you just want to win. You don't want to be fair. You don't want to be honest. You don't want to be transparent. Suck my dick.
If I
Suck my dick.
Curtis,
Go to bed tonight. Go to bed tonight with Zara and tell her you're a piece of shit. Be honest.
Curtis, if I delete this video, if I pretend it never happened, then that would be entirely consistent with what you say. But I'm going to leave.
No. Don't play those games. That's a manipulation. Oh, if I don't show this, that means I'm telling the truth.
I'm going to leave.
Fallacy? That's a fallacy.
I'm going to leave this debate up for everyone to see.
That's a fallacy. If you go, hey, Curtis, I delete this video, that must mean that, no, that's not how it works, Jack. You don't get to do that. That's a fallacy. You know it's a fallacy. You're a fucking philosophy student. You know what you just did. You know what you just did was pure manipulation. Hey, if I delete this video, that must mean Curtis is right, but I'm not going to delete this video, so that must mean I'm telling the truth. What a little manipulative weasel you are, you piece of shit. I can't believe a philosophy, you were in logic classes and stuff. I can't believe you would make such a blatant fallacy. Go fuck yourself, bitch. Who's this introvert thinker? Another stupid fat cunt. Fuck you.
Boy, she's very nice. I
don't give a shit about that stupid bitch. Go.
She's very nice.
You can all suck a dick. You can all suck a dick.
Right. Okay. I think
suck my taint.
I think we've reached the point where we've sort of exhausted all possibilities of discussion.
We've reached the climax. I made Jack come with my beautiful logic. He loves it. He's in a crippling orgasm right now from my beautiful logic. He loves it. Look at him there. He's cute face there.
Is that your closing statement?
Curtis really did. Curtis, is that your closing statement? Curtis? Yeah, he loves it. Look at him there. He's having a great
really
old
going
time.
to have to.
You want a popsicle there, little boy?
Change the age rating on this video.
After that?
I thought it would be.
Popsicle after that?
I thought it would be.
You want a little popsicle?
Curtis, I did make a terrible mistake in having you on here. Because
go fuck yourself.
Because when they asked me if I wanted to monetize, I assumed there wouldn't be too much inappropriate language.
I hope you didn't make any money off this, you little weasel. I don't give a shit about your pocketbook, you piece of shit. This was an all-time classic, and you know it was. You can just suck a dick and pretend like it's terrible, but it was great. And everyone loved it, and this is more views than you've ever had in a live stream. So just suck a dick, dude.
It has gone well. I mean, honestly, it has done really well. Probably done well for both of us. I mean, we still got 33 people watching, and it's an hour 4 minutes in.
This is an all-time great, and they're going to be like, oh, Curtis is dumb. But guess what? Curtis made this show what it was. So just suck a dick, all of you fucking haters. Okay? Did you want another little pussy on here being like, oh, Jack, I'm sorry, I don't know. Sucking his taint, that's what you guys wanted. Fuck you all. You're all wrong.
All right.
And Jack, fuck you very much.
Same to you. All the best, everyone. Have a lovely rest of your evening and take care.
Jack's gay.